The paths are described by which men can penetrate behind the scenes of existence in the right way. But the subjective strivings of very many persons do not, in reality, aim at reaching the goal to be desired. In those books it is clearly indicated that one who wishes to penetrate into the other world must transcend the normal form of consciousness. If the indications given are faithfully followed, it will be clear that one must emerge from the normal consciousness into a different form of consciousness. It is important to know this, for there is a tendency among most people, indeed among many of our friends too, not to leave the normal form of consciousness at any price, but to remain in it and to bring the spiritual world into the ordinary consciousness. That is to say, not to let the ego emerge, but to bring the spiritual world into the ego. It is knowledge of the spiritual world that should be brought into the ordinary consciousness, not the spiritual world itself. If you faithfully practice what is contained in the books mentioned, you will bring yourself into conditions through which you will experience the spiritual world. Conditions through which experiences deriving from that world can be brought into the sphere of the normal consciousness. But there are many who do not want this. They want the experience to be actually in the normal consciousness, whereas it ought to originate from consciousness that is different from the normal and passes into the normal. Many of our friends, however, try to have visions in the normal consciousness, not something that is a reminiscence of a different kind of consciousness. If, however, you have visions in the normal consciousness, that is to say, if you do not really wish to develop a different kind of consciousness, but to keep consciousness in its ordinary form, and yet look into the spiritual world, this means that you do not seriously wish to go beyond, but to remain in the ordinary consciousness, expecting to see forms and figures there which look like those of the physical world. Many people try hard to see spirits or the activities of spirits, but they want to see them just as they see physical things. They want to see a spirit, but the spirit is expected to have the form of a man or a woman, or perhaps a poodle, as these are seen in the physical world. In the other world, however, it is not like this. The process itself lies outside the ordinary consciousness, and what enters into the consciousness is at most a picture, an image, which appears afterward. In short, we must not expect the spiritual world to be merely a kind of finer sense world, nor that it will speak in human words. The only difference being that the words come from the spiritual world. Our friends are often only willing to listen in this way to voices which seem to speak to them. These voices are expected to be similar to those of the physical world, merely giving a different, subtler version of things of the physical world. These people would like to enter the spiritual world with the ordinary consciousness which belongs to the physical world only. Actually, most of the visions or voices of which one is told are of the character just described. At all events, this much is certain. When we have such visions or hear such voices, it is always easy for Lucifer and Ahriman to have an easy game with us. They lay hold of these experiences for themselves, for men are always prone to interpret them incorrectly. If such experiences are rightly interpreted, Lucifer and Ahriman gain nothing from them. As you see, there are distinctions here which must be kept strictly in mind.